Welcome to Girl Choose Yourself, where we're trading self-doubt for self-trust and settling for soaring. I'm Emer Zone, your host, and together we're building the confidence to create lives so deliciously bold that they scare us a little, but in the best possible way. Because life's too precious to stay cozy in our comfort zones. It's time to choose ourselves for lives that are fabulous and soulfully fulfilling. So let's go. Hey, welcome back. This week I want to talk to you about a practice that I'm embarking on for 30 days. I've started it. It's a 30-day mental diet, and that's something I'm going to be introducing to you in this episode, and I think you're going to find it really valuable. I'm only several days in and finding it really, really powerful. So, have you ever sort of just woken up and said, Jesus Christ, I'm so sick of myself? Or like, why do I find myself in the same position over and over again? I try to create this vision of who I think I can and could be. Maybe you have a really nice vision board with a picture of yourself being really successful, achieving all these things, doing different things that in some moments feel like, yes, true and obtainable. And then other times you just feel like, no, I just feel disconnected from that. I just can't make that happen. Well, if you've ever felt like that, this is for you. This is for you. Because I believe that, we're not here to keep shrinking ourselves, getting lost in strategies that promise so much and never deliver. And we're not here to be chasing external validation like on some fucking hamster wheel. We're here really to create, and to create from a source that is sacred and deep within us, that only we can contact. We're here to really choose at that deep sacred level and to become who we are here to be. Every dream, every breakthrough, every next chapter begins in one place, and that's in your mind. What you think, what you believe, what you accept consciously or subconsciously about who you are and what's possible. That's what we're talking about today. So not more doing, no hacks, no productivity tips, no time management. This is about coming home to the one place that shapes everything else in your life. And that's your inner world. So let's go. First of all, I'm just going to invite you to consider this first thing. There is no such thing as an idle thought. There's no such thing as an idle thought. I just want you to play with that idea. Here's what I believe. There is no such thing as an idle thought. Every single one is creative. It's directional. Every thought carries a frequency. You're not a passive thinker. You're actually an active broadcaster. Consider that. The Dhammapada, which is one of the earliest Buddhist scriptures, begins with this. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The Upanishads are the ancient spiritual texts of India. And this is what they say. You are what your deep, driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will, so is your destiny. And there's a powerful line in the Bible, in Proverbs, often quoted and definitely worth remembering, and it's this: as a person thinketh in their heart, so they are. So in other words, your self-concept doesn't just colour your life, it doesn't just influence it slightly, it absolutely creates it. And we are the product of the thoughts we've allowed to linger. So as you pause for a moment and maybe reflect upon your life, look around, look in the mirror, look at your environment, your schedule, your energy, your relationships, and what you're really seeing is your self-concept made visible. You may have read that book, Mindset, by Carol Dweck. Here's a quote from that: "The view you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life." And author Neville Goddard, who wrote great books, one of which is The Power of Awareness, which I highly recommend, said this: change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. So I want to invite you to consider this next suggestion. What you think you are, who you think you are, shapes everything. Shapes everything. Like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? I think most of us, the vast majority of us, suffer from a very sad case of mistaken identity. Your self-concept is the filter through which all of your thoughts flow. If you think you're broken, you'll interpret challenges as evidence. Setbacks are evidence. If you think you're becoming, every moment becomes a stepping stone. Your self-concept is the filter through which all your thoughts flow. So yeah, who do you think you are? And not who you tell people you are. Very different. Who do you think you are when no one's watching? When the noise quiets, when you're alone, you and your thoughts, who do I think I am? What's the message that comes? Or what labels or limitations do you attach to yourself? What if you treated your mind like sacred ground and only allowed thoughts that served your very highest self to take root? That can sound quite revolutionary almost. And I would not be surprised if a voice inside your head was saying, that's ridiculous. My highest self? Who's that? Is this you can be anything you believe? Bullshit. Just listen and see what your mind is serving up to you. What are those thoughts? And what do they tell you about who you think you are? Because that's your filter. The third thing that I want to invite you to consider and think about is how wayward our minds are and how we have become addicted to doing, how we have come to worship at the altar of doing. We're constantly responding, aren't we, to external stimuli, rarely choosing with intention. We're pulled by notifications from our phones, that ping, the news cycle, other people's emergencies and urgencies. And so it's easy to think, to see from our behavior that we are more human doings than human beings. And it's even entered the lexicon now, hasn't it? This idea that we're living in the attention economy, distracting us from what matters most to us, our deepest desires, is big business. TikTok, Reels, YouTube, Netflix, Amazon, gaming. Pick one or all of them. What's your biggest distractor? Is your attention on your deepest heart's desire? How often? Are you so distracted that you don't even know what your deepest heart's desire is? And so you just feel, a sense of numbness, detachment, disconnection. I like to ask myself this question sometimes. Emer, is this activity that you're involved in right now, or you're planning on engaging in, is it in alignment with your assignment? And for me, the assignment is my purpose. Or it can mean simply my most important work. I just like that phrase. Is this in alignment with my assignment? It's very easy to get distracted when, first of all, you don't know what that is. Very common. But it's a helpful question. Am I in alignment with my assignment? Am I in alignment with what matters most? Am I in alignment with my heart's desire? Because we're living in a world that's screaming at us, move faster, hustle. And slowing down feels downright rebellious. But seriously, think about it. All the rushing around, all that straining and striving and stacking of strategies one on top of the other. How well is that working really? How well is that working for you? Another strategy. Eckhart Tolle writes, thinking has become a disease. Used wrongly, it becomes destructive. We're hooked by thoughts of what we should be doing. Do, more, hustle harder. We have been taught or conditioned to worship at the altar of doing, the altar of productivity. Think about it. Burnout, loneliness, epidemic levels. What a surprise. We mistake others for competition, and we buy into subtle and not so subtle messages that amplify a sense of lack. But being present, being centered, being aligned is where our real power lies. From this place, we can release a long, easeful exhale because we are home. Everything looks and feels different from this place. This is a place of possibility, of peace, of abundance, of opportunity everywhere. This is where we naturally belong, and yet a place that we so seldom experience. It's like we've got ourselves into some really sorry state where we've locked the door on our own treasure store and foolishly think that we have to go searching and striving outside of ourselves, competing with everyone's competition for fucking trinkets. Our culture, the modern attention economy, our own personal histories and inherited ancestral stories all have left their imprint. And we will live our lives in reaction to the imprints unless we choose something different. So what are you thinking? And more importantly, is it worthy of who you truly are? I suspect not. How can we bring choice into this? So now I want to introduce you to that practice I mentioned at the start of this episode, which is my 30-day mental diet. So right now I'm on that. I'm on a 30-day mental diet, and it's not a restriction. It is a devotion. It's self-honoring And it's a devotion. So for 30 days, here's what it is. For 30 days, I treat my inner world, my inner landscape, like fucking sacred ground. Sacred ground. So I let go of anything that doesn't belong there, which means anything that's rooted in fear, in doubt, in smallness, in lack. And I consciously choose to entertain thoughts. I plant those thoughts. I nourish those thoughts, those seeds in my inner landscape that reflect the truth of who I really am. Me at my best, my highest self, my highest vision of and for myself. Claiming that and only allowing that to be nourished in my inner landscape. So this isn't about perfection. If you quiet your mind, well, scratch that. If you watch your mind just for a few moments and you try and stop thinking, you'll be humbled to discover that thinking is happening, whether or not you will it to or not. It's happening. So the thoughts will come. This isn't a control mechanism. This isn't, I will only think positive thoughts that serve me and reflect my highest self. It's like I will choose them. I will choose to nourish them. And when I notice thoughts that are rooted in fear, doubt, lack, smallness, I'll just let them float by. I will not nourish them. I will not entertain them. So it's really about honoring myself as the sacred creative force of my own life. And this is my invitation to you. I think this is incredibly important work. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on all sorts of courses about external strategies. And the most important work that I have found has been this inner work. When I took 2 years of my life to train to be a mindfulness meditation teacher, it was because I felt that inner pulse to say, yeah, all those external things, I'm learning to build things and do, but there's something. The engine of this is different. It is not pushing and forceful. It comes from a different state, and that state is being. So this is really about honoring that sacred creative force of your own life. And you will get to know it and be able to access it more easily through this practice. So just try it for 30 days. It's a protection of your inner world, like your life fucking depends on it. Because in many ways it does. A couple of tips that I've learned just from this first week in this process. I'm not watching the news. I may find something that flickers across my screen and I choose not to click on it. I choose not to engage with it. I'm not watching the news. I'm meditating daily, obviously. And if you're not a meditator, just looking for quiet moments in your day, you don't have to close your eyes. You just have to be by yourself in a kind of peaceful environment, whatever that means for you in your circumstance and situation, and just experiencing your mind, watching it. Another thing that's helpful, so turning off negative sources of thoughts, which for me is the news. Tuning in to the quiet inner space, meditating, or if you're not a meditator, just finding a quiet space to be with your thoughts and just noticing the patterns. Can be 5 minutes. And the third thing I'm doing is just journaling what I'm noticing as I go through this process. And what's helpful to note when you're journaling is the themes. You're going to be thinking thoughts that are not in alignment with your highest self. And so you may want to note those just in your journal thematically. And you may see through the period of 30 days that diminishing. So it's useful to just see what is your mind like to get entangled with, and that will really help you get clearer on what is that self-concept. Who do you think you are? What does your particular flavor of mistaken identity look like? If what I've shared today resonates for you, if it speaks to you, if you're dreaming of being and experiencing more than your current reality reflects, then this is your invitation. Really to stop chasing, to stop forcing and pushing and striving, and to start really leading your life from the inside out. And that is what my self-paced program, The Confidence Key, is all about. This is something new that I'm inviting you to experience. And we begin with really that question that we've been speaking about here today, which is, who do you think you are? Because once you choose differently, intentionally, soulfully, everything else shifts. You'll walk through 8 modules at your own pace, and every week I will be hosting live drop-in calls for you to bring whatever thoughts, questions, to go deeper together. We don't rush, we realign. And I've timed the opening of this offering for the summer solstice because I feel like this is a threshold moment. It's the longest light, really a turning point. And this experience, this program, I really wanted to infuse it with ritual and make it meaningful so that it really meets the pulse of your inner sacred self, really. That's what it's about. So if you're feeling that quiet yes, if this feels like, you're nodding along, you can book a free clarity call with me. No pressure, just a conversation to see if this might be the next right step for you. So the link's in the show notes, or you can DM me Clarity on Instagram and I'll send you the details. That's it from me this week. Stay fabulous. Thanks so much for tuning into the episode this week. I hope you got a lot out of it, and if you did, please share it with somebody who you feel would benefit. And leave a review. Always greatly appreciated. Lots of free and paid resources to take things a step further. You can find those in the show notes. And hey, if nobody's told you this yet today, you are amazing. And the world is a far more beautiful place because you're here with us all. Stay cool. Bye.